Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today for this session. My name is Jose Austin. I'm a ST4 registrar in the east of England Deanery, and I'll be briefly taking you through my thoughts on the portfolio assessment for the ST3 National Recruitment Interview. So when we talk of portfolio, it's assessed in two ways. There is a pre-interview assessment, which involves the validated self-assessment score. And for this year, it's for 34 marks. And for the interview per se, the term portfolio station has now been renamed to commitment to specialty, which is a 50 marks. And the focus of this brief talk is going to be referring to the one that you're going to be having for the interview. And Nikhil would have taken you through this scoring matrix. This is given in the applicant handbook. This gives the various domains under which the interviewers are going to mark you. For commitment to specialty, it's for 50 marks, with 10 marks for each of the domains, which are career motivation, learning and development, academic credentials, leadership and team involvement, organization and planning, and communication in the form of information giving. It's important to understand these domains because when you start preparing your answers, you need to ensure that the content that you have touches upon most of these in order for you to optimize on the marks that you're going to get. And also, while the interview is going on, if at all you weren't able to complete your initial question under all these domains, then you can expect the next follow-up questions from the panelists to be involving those aspects which have not been covered in your initial answer. And leading up to the interviews, many people would have often said the interviews is all about selling yourself, and that's how you're going to get the national training number. So this particular station, commitment to specialty, in essence, is quite literally your time to shine. It's your time to put out all that information, whatever is there in your portfolio, and to convince the interviewers that this is who you are, why you need to be selected, and why you need to be given the national training number. And from that perspective, I will just touch upon a few tips, essentially 5 in number, that can help you prepare towards this commitment to specialty station. My first tip is be confident and sound friendly. This particular station, unlike some of the others, is essentially a conversation. The non-verbal cues, your body language, how your room setting is, does play a role. And therefore, because it's a conversation, you need to sound friendly. When the first question is asked to you, acknowledge the faculty, have a smile in your face, and introduce yourself. Tell me what your name and what you are doing currently before you expand on your answer. It's good. It is important that you know your portfolio, but just knowing the content or having a lot of content on your portfolio is only half the battle. In this particular station, you need to be able to speak up and mention how whatever you have on your portfolio reflects towards the competencies one expects out of a registrar. And you need to be proud of your achievements. People say there is a fine line being between someone who's able to speak confidently and sell themselves as against someone who might seem as if they are showing off or boasting too much or sounding arrogant. But in this particular case, and I don't think when I had the interviews, the panelists had my portfolio with them, and it's unlikely to be the case. So you need to put that information out there. You need to tell them and be proud of your achievements. This is your opportunity to speak up, because if you don't tell me, then I won't know. And it's essentially a case of speak now or forever hold your peace. So put that information in the most eloquent manner as possible, and then leave it to the panelists to then decide if it was relevant or not. So that's my tip number 1. Tip number 2 is about anticipation and practice. we've gone through the scoring matrix. You know what questions are going to come up. The first one is more often than not an open-ended question asking you about your career motivation or CV. You will have questions about audit and research, teaching, strengths and weaknesses, leadership and management, teamwork and communication, hot topics such as GERT, major trauma network, the NJR, what are the challenges facing T&O. So please start preparing your answers according to those. Have and keep practicing it initially either in front of a mirror and then with colleagues. So that will bring about the fluency when you try and deliver it even on the final day. My tip number 3 is about structuring your answer. And before I delve into that, I'd like to highlight an important point, which is answer the question first, which is being asked. For example, if I'm asking you a question, talk to me about your leadership style and citing examples from your work. Tell us how you've been an effective leader. The question asked was about leadership style. So start your answer based on self-introspection. My leadership style would be an amalgamation of either transactional or democratic, and then give your example and then expand on it. And when you finish your answer, summarize or use a phrase that will once again answer the question which was asked. For example, why should we give you a national training number? Finish the answer saying, based on whatever I have evidence in my portfolio so far, I deserve to be given the national training number. So that gives a proper conclusion to your answer. Coming back to structuring your answer, there are a lot of acronyms out there that can help you structure your answer. For a career motivation or CV question, we use CAMP, which is clinical, academic, management, and personal. If you were asked a question about a difficult situation or a task, you can use STAR, which is about situation, task, action, result, or reflection about it. If you were asked a question about how do you deal with a difficult colleague or situation, there's an acronym called SPICE, which is seek information, patient safety, initiate, escalate, and offer support. So there are quite a few out there. But in essence, what this does is it shows that you're organized with your answer. If I were to ask you, what does it mean by being a safe doctor? You could say, for me, I'd like to look at it from the point of being safe for the patient, being safe for oneself, and being safe for this system. Or another question, for example, what are the challenges facing T&O as a specialty? You can start the answer or stratify it by saying, let's look at it from the point of view of challenges facing T&O from the perspective of the patient, or from the trainee, or from the system. So this is my tip number 3, structure your answer. Tip number 4 is pick your winners. You know you'll be asked about strengths, weaknesses, audit, research paper. So one strength, one weakness, one audit, one paper presentation, one research that you can talk about, and you will and structure it well, practice it well, so that when you're asked on the day, the answer appears very succinct. And it should feel conversational, and it needs to feel genuine and something that you've reflected upon. Tip number 5, and this is the last one, you need to, after the station is over, that's it. You need to reset. Easier said than done, but you need to move on. This is where most of the candidates often struggle, but what is done is done. The past is done. The future is where you will win. Finish about the station, switch off, tell yourself, I need to, you'll have very limited time, but you need to move on to the next. And it's about that race. And as long as you're able to maintain that for each of the stations, you will be winning at the end of it. And that would be it from my side.